we need to have transparency when we are talking about commission because we know in our industry that commission is negotiable. It does not have to be a percentage. Okay, so you guys can charge a flat fee. It doesn't have to be a percentage, and it doesn't have to be paid by the seller, despite what most markets are doing now.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey guys, welcome back to Real Estateable, your go-to podcast for raw, real, and relevant information in the real estate world. Today we're doing a special episode to kind of talk about some best practices regarding the NAR settlement.
Yeah, today is the day we are going to start to kind of head into uncharted territories. And we just wanted to make sure that we're reaching out to everyone that has poured back into our real estateable community and really talk some really raw and relevant tips and tricks that we think are going to help us stay successful post NAR settlement and really just heading into the fourth quarter of the year. So we're super excited for this. I feel like how much talk has been happening. So much has been leading up to this. And I still feel like there's so many unanswered questions. There's so many what ifs. There's so many different things. And I think that the noise that surrounds this has been super heavy burden for a lot of us professionals in this industry.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah, I feel like, almost like a scare tactic where you're like, I'm a little bit afraid to do business. And if you are afraid to talk about your commission before the settlement, you need to be really comfortable talking about commission and how it works and how it's split up, either on the listing side or the buying side. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. Just some tips that you guys can use to stay in business, stay in compliance, and just kind of know how to navigate this post-NAR settlement in real estate.
And we need to note that we are not attorneys. We're not practicing in all 50 states. No matter where you're listening, your broker advisement, your state regulations, your state forms, all of those things are going to vary. So we're going to keep this very high level and really just talk some confidence into your practices. And I know a lot of, like in the state of Tennessee, a lot of the training has been around saying, hey, nothing's going to be different. The only thing that's going to be different is no longer an MLS. And while I feel like a lot of that is true for us, a lot of it is true for how we have been practicing in business as a real estate team, as individual agents, and really as a company and office, everyone that we've been surrounding with. Okay, yes, that's true. But I think that there has been so much noise in this, you feel kind of uneasy. It's like, wait, I'm second guessing myself. Have I really been doing the right job? Am I really doing all the things? And regardless of where you are, I think we all know that forms have changed for us. Forms have changed for pretty much anyone that we've talked to around the country, which I think is not a bad thing. And we have talked and have presented, through episodes and our social media and just our stance. This is not really a bad thing. But I do think it is harder for those that have already really been in line with the way that the new way of real estate is. It does seem like, wait, what am I doing? What did I do wrong? What am I missing?
Yeah.
So it shouldn't be that hard of a shift for a lot of us, especially in Tennessee.
All right. So tip number one, we're going to just dive right in.
Yep.
We need to have transparency when we are talking about commission because we know in our industry that commission is negotiable. It does not have to be a percentage. Okay. So you guys can charge a flat fee. It doesn't have to be a percentage, and it doesn't have to be paid by the seller, despite what most markets are doing now.
Yeah. And I think with broker advisement and, you might be with company specific policies that you have to follow and different things like that. Yes, the overall transparency and commissions being negotiable has to be part of your scripting and your conversation. I think that script training, practicing, kind of role playing through this should all be part of what we're doing as far as training and getting ready really for this light switch that has come off. I know there's been so much about, how are we going to tell the other party that, is it going to be like a banner that's flying across the skyline of my listing? Is it going to be cut in the grass of the front yard? Is it going to be this, that? Really, though, what happens even before that? And we talked the other day and it was like, I'm not so much worried about explaining that I'm offering a commission. It's more so making sure that I am very transparent with my sellers on how commission is charged, how it's charged for us as listing agents, what we're using as a marketing tool, of what we're using for cooperating agents. All of that being very, very clear. I know there's a lot of social media rows around like, oh, well, how will I tell them that I offer 3% or 2% or no percent? How am I going
Mm-hmm.
to communicate that? And I do think that that is a challenge. If anything, that is really going to be you getting creative with that. But in this, and really what the settlement is about, is not what's being removed from the MLS, but really what are you doing to be very transparent in negotiating what you are charging as a service to these sellers. That's the part I think is the key. And
Yeah.
with broker advisement, I think that you really should be digging your heels into that.
Yeah. I think if you're just explaining it really well, you have a written agreement, you're making sure that the buyer and or seller understands exactly how much commission is being paid and who is paying it.
Yes. Yep. Yep.
Because I mean, either party can pay, and I think for a long time, people didn't know that. Right? That's why the lawsuit
Well, and we do so
started.
much VA business where we are currently. So there's been a lot of non allowable conversation too. So I think that, yes, things are changing as far as that goes, making sure buyers are aware. I know that I have concerns, or we have concerns about the attainability of housing for those that really don't have the means. Like they didn't have the means to pay their closing costs.
Mm-hmm.
Do they have means to be able to pay a agent on top of that? And I think that that's all things we're going to face, figure outable, right? But how you're explaining and advising and going through the forums and having those buyer consultations and the real in-depth listing appointment conversations, I think that that part of it is, it doesn't change how you're delivering it. It's figuring out, okay, got it. I had the same conversation, and this buyer has a real concern, just like you would have the conversation about the real concern about closing costs being
Mm-hmm.
covered or down payments being covered. The same kind of scenario, looping that into, okay, this is the charge that I'm upfront saying is going to need to be paid for my services, like to hire me, the value of me. Why are you the best buyer's agent for those that are seeking your services?
And I think too that all goes hand in hand with client education. So as long as your client is feeling informed and feeling empowered by what you're telling them, I don't think it's a bad idea to create maybe some brochures or some marketing, just kind of explaining your services. This is what I'm doing for X amount of percent. Um, and I think just figuring out what the buyer's financial status is. Are they able to pay closing costs? Are they able to pay a commission? Are you willing to waiver from, a brokerage standard or whatever practices your brokerage is implementing? But I think that the more you can educate, and that could also be social media, guys, be that local expert, explain what's going on social, so people will come to you with questions.
Yeah, and I think when doing that, making sure, and our broker recently said to us, as a whole, is like, okay, the news was a big thing. What? How many months ago? Like the news was just that this is the new hot thing. The news has kind of softened a little bit about that.
Oh yeah.
But guess what? Who's the noisiest right now about this? Is social media and the way that we are marketing this. And so, I earlier I said to my broker, we're surrounded by idiots. Didn't necessarily describe whether those were agents, consumers, or society in general, but you got to make sure that you're being, and we talked about this so many different times, a positive informing light in anything that you're describing to social media, your clients across the table. They're the doomsday approach, which is kind of the bait and switch of the media. The doomsday approach to this is not going to help you get further faster. The education in a clear, transparent way, absolutely. And I like what you said too, empowering your clients.
Mm-hmm.
If they feel empowered to be able to make sound decisions, then heck yeah, we have actually succeeded as agents. So in you empowering, is what you're doing empowering that transparency. I would self-check yourself on, okay, is this the cool trend that's happening right now with the this, that, and the other thing, and making light of this? but are you actually empowering the consumer that you want to do business with, which is really going to move your business further?
Yeah, definitely. I also think that now more than ever, being the professional and being the market expert, you need to find out what makes your service, what makes you different. What is your UVP? We talk about this all the time. And I think now more than ever, you need to explain what you're doing because we are not door openers and we're now asking buyers to potentially pay us where that is different, for a lot of markets. But I think if you are letting your client know, hey, I've been an agent for this long, this is my market expertise, I've lived here, I grew up here, I know the area, I'm able to negotiate for you and give you support. I have a team, I have an admin, I have a team leader or a broker who is, happy to hold my hand. Don't be afraid to use other people to back you up. I use that in every listing appointment I go to. I say, hey,
Mm-hmm.
we're a team of 7. That's 7 agents for the price of one who are going to be marketing your home. I'm using my team because I'm on one, but you can easily use your broker. Hey, maybe you haven't dealt with this before. Oh, I don't know how to explain the commission. Bring your broker with. Bring somebody with you who can hold your hand and help you explain that.
Yeah, and even one of our more junior agents said, "Hey, school's back in session for us." She's like, "I need to get back on the piggyback ride. Then
Mm-hmm.
when the kids are in session, I need to be in the car with you. I need to be at appointments. I need to." So,
Oh, I
rather,
just said that to you too.
yes,
I was
everyone's
like,
saying
can
this.
I go on a couple listing appointments with you? I need to like freshen up
Freshen
my
up on all of
yeah.
that. So it doesn't even necessarily have to be people coming to your stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
you piggybacking on another agent that's elevating to the level that you want to be. So
I also think on that too. If you've been an agent for 20 years and you see an agent who's been in for 3 years and is absolutely crushing it, don't think that you know more than that agent because I feel like you can always learn something from somebody.
mhm.
So don't just be humble. Everybody's going through these changes, but partner with somebody.
Yeah, yeah.
Are you looking for ways to become more efficient and save time in your day as a real estate agent? We've got the thing for you. We have created 18 done for you email templates that cover the entire process on the buying side and the selling side. The best part is that this is only $49 and includes customizable email templates for the process to get you through start to finish with your buyers and sellers. Head over to realestateable.com/email templates, and that's where you can find them.
Yeah. And I also think going into the fourth quarter, the third and fourth quarter, honestly, some of our most favorite conventions, conferences, different things around the country, which is going to require you a little bit of resource to be able to travel. But even if you can virtually connect with some of these conferences that are coming up at the end of this year, especially with the different conversations that are surrounding this lawsuit. And so make sure that, it might be for you going, okay, well, it's just me and my broker. It's like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
just, in the coattails of this. Don't feel like it has to be within your four walls or even within your association. Make sure that you're resourcing, like looking at resources and figuring out, okay, how can I elevate myself through this? If we're having to reevaluate and making sure that we have clear, concise, transparent conversations, resources, and things that we're doing to make sure that we are the best, most professional option for our clients, make sure that you're around the people that are actually supporting that message.
Mm-hmm.
If you have any questions on kind of what we have identified as that, send us a message. We would be happy to tell you where we're at. In any given month.
Exactly. I would say it changes day to day, I feel
Yeah,
like.
literally, like the different things. And again, it doesn't have to be if you don't have the resources to physically be there. A lot of them have the virtual options to plug into. I know NAR is in Boston towards the end of the year. I can't imagine, if you've been to a NAR conference or a convention, convention, those things are massive and there's so much value packed into those couple of days. But I do know through COVID, they have some actual virtual options for that too. So be thinking through that. I really like the idea of how you're practicing. What do you have to back that up? What kind of packaged up, pretty presentation that is clear and transparent? What are you doing for that? If you haven't already, you probably need to reevaluate those systems that you have in place, or you need to get them put in place. Now is not too late to make that happen.
Yeah, I also think like doing some role play. working on scripts like we
Mm-hmm.
talked about earlier, but having a solid buyer's consultation. What does that look like? What are you talking about? What tangible items are you putting in front of these buyers, showing that you're a professional? Which kind of brings me to my next point of make sure you're attending trainings. Our brokerage is, I feel like, having trainings like every week or two, just talking about forms changes, the lawsuit, best practices, all of the things. Um, Maybe work on your buyer's consult and have your broker review it. Hey, do I have the right disclaimers on this? Am I explaining this correctly? Maybe walk through it with your broker and do the role play with them so they can say, hey, you shouldn't say that, or hey, maybe say it this way so it's presented a little different. But just get that feedback and go to those trainings so that you can stay on top of what's going on.
Yeah, 100%. And I feel like right now it's like, oh, is this the same thing? You probably saw this episode come up and you're like, oh, it's another talk about the same thing. And really trying to bring different light to it today. But really, I think that there has been some consistency, like especially when we talk about like what's happening in our association for continuing ed, what's been happening within our brokerage, within our company. There has been some consistency, but I feel like every time that I've sat down in a training, it's like, man, I know I owe it to be poured back into if I'm expecting to have anything to pour back out to my clients. So
Yeah.
really, I feel like don't sit on the, oh, well, I've already done it. I did the one. As agents, I think we're so used to, oh, it's this one CE class that I need to renew my license, or one core, one code of ethics, one this or the other thing. I think the more that you can do, the better you're going to be able to sit across the table from potential buyers and sellers, clients, being able to help navigate that. Do not think it's a one and done when it comes to really how well we should be self evaluating our businesses.
Well, I also think one point that we didn't mention at all is the legal risk that
Mm-hmm.
we're taking when we're talking to these clients and we're presenting these things. So I think that training and compliance and meeting with brokers and learning from others is going to be something that protects you because your reputation in this business is everything. And so if you get a lawsuit from a buyer or a seller, that's going to tarnish your name a little bit if you don't win. I mean, if you did do something wrong, accidents happen, but let's try to stay in front of those and not get into any legal trouble.
Yeah, that's why we keep on going broker. Go back to your broker.
Yeah.
Company policies and procedures. And I think a lot of that too. You need to remember, who has your back. Who is going to be their right hand to any actual potential concerns. It's going to be your broker. And with that, you have to be in line. If you're going and doing polar opposite of what you've been trained and advised, from what the company that you chose to partner with, yeah, that's going to be a little bit of a problem. If you're
Yeah.
like, hey, I got myself into a little bit of trouble, they're like, cool, but you actually didn't do anything we said we would be doing as a company. Like, wake up, guys. Hello, why are we where we're at right now?
Yeah.
So, yep.
I think also just having clear client communication.
Yep.
I know that for in Tennessee, we're going to be having to do amendments to our buyers reps come August 17th. And so, sending a form that's saying something different than maybe what they've already signed before, just letting people know, like, this is what's coming. This is something that's going to be happening statewide, depending on what state you're in. But just letting them know and regularly updating people, I think the more you can inform your client, the better and the more comfortable they're going to feel. And they're going to be like, okay, Ashlee knows what she's talking about. She explained this to me thoroughly. I have no questions. And also just asking your client if they have questions. Let's explain something. What questions can I answer for you?
Yeah. Yeah. And I have found myself here recently. I'm working with some younger clients, buyers and sellers both. And they're not experienced, first time buying, first time selling. And I've had to really, you're in such a rush society and there's so much to be done. And I feel like we're working 10 to 20 times harder and longer than we have been in the last couple of years. And I have found myself needing to make sure that I'm biting off pieces, slowing down and stopping at pinpoint parts of the conversation to ask to make sure if you can further break down, further explain. And I always say, use this excuse. I'm a fast talker. I'm a fast New York talker. Like I am a million miles an hour. and I know this stuff inside and out, but it doesn't mean that I'm clearly explaining this in terms that you can understand. Almost giving them permission where they're not feeling like, oh, well, what does that mean? I'm too dumb to really know,
I'll Google that later.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, the amount of people that are the other day I had a client looking at loan assumptions and said, there's no way I want to do that. I said, hey, can I see your resource? She screenshot some, I don't know,
like a Facebook post or something.
No, a wackadoodle mortgage company thing, and I was like, get off of that site now. I was like, we need a phone conversation with that, or TikTok is such a thing where a lot of these younger consumers are being educated through that. Well, I think that's great to start the conversation. You need to make sure that you're breaking this down and then allowing them. And I've always will say twice when they're like, nope, no questions. I'm like, okay, if you think of anything, I know that sometimes the inspection section would be really great to go over once again. If there's anything that you think I can explain a little slower, more in depth, like let me know. Almost kind of, are you sure? Are you sure you don't have any more questions? But I think what Ashlee was saying too was more role playing, more script playing, or a scripting practice, sitting across from other agents, your broker. I've done this honestly with my dog when I first started 18 years ago. Sitting and having those out loud practices of what you're doing is going to help you kind of chunk that conversation into sections that you're able to really fully understand. And like you were saying too, the more confidence your clients have in empowering them to make the right decisions for them, even if that means not right now.
Yeah.
Even if that means, okay, this is not an attainable thing that I should be doing in the current place where I am in my life.
I think also we talk a lot about getting reviews, like Google reviews, Facebook. Obviously, those are really good things to have, but I think that it could be important and or beneficial to your business if you are gathering feedback from your client versus, hey, give me a 5-star review. Like maybe have a sheet or a jot form or something where you're like, hey, leave me some super candid criticism or constructive criticism,
yes. Yep.
whatever. So that way you can improve your service based on, and this might not be for every client. Like don't ask the client, that had a terrible home inspection and now their house burned down after they moved in. Don't ask them how it went, but
that happens.
I mean, if that happens, I'm just saying, like, if it's
that has not ever happened, disclosure has not happened for
if
us
you're
yet.
not clicking with that client and it's just a rocky road, maybe don't send it. You already know what they're gonna say. But getting some feedback just to improve yourself, I think would be something too.
Well, I think you can also do that like in feedback and follow up. It doesn't have to necessarily be in like the busyness of the overwhelming process on that. Like, hey, I'm always looking to improve. And that could honestly, I've been looking at, we're doing so many more touches for our clients. That could even be just an entire database. Like, thanks, it's been years, but now knowing what you know now, what are some things that you think would be super important for you through the process? So don't look at it necessarily even as like the right nows, but just in the big picture. Like, could I have done something better? Like, I'm constantly growing, changing, best agent out there. That kind of thing that you're able to say like, hey, what can I do to be better as an agent? So I love that idea.
Yeah. I think since, I'm like more of the technology person here, following up, using your CRM, using your spreadsheet to talk to all of your past clients, all of your current clients. Maybe even this means maybe sending out a little newsletter or an email, just going out to everyone saying, hey, these are the changes that are coming. If we're currently under contract, we need to do XYZ. If we're still in the home search, we need to do XYZ now. Just keeping people informed, I think, is going to be, well, that was the root of the problem to begin with. So let's fix it with communication, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I think that we said it a couple times through the episode, but as we wrap up here, we want to make sure that one, that we're not attorneys. I think we would be great attorneys, but we are actually not. We identify, no, we are not attorneys. But then on top of that, every broker, you're choosing to partner with a broker that is aligning with your business. You have got to be advised and trained by that broker in the brokerage. So a lot of these ideas, we're not getting super in depth because guess what? It's going to be broker specific. It's not even be state specific. There's going to be things that you might be like, oh, I heard this on a TikTok. I I learned this on this podcast. I went to a conference and I'm going to do this. And you turn around to your broker and she's like, we don't practice. That's against policies and procedure. Like, or he's saying, that no, a better way of doing that. So I think that right now is a perfect time for you to check yourself, even if you think you have a perfect procedure in place. Be like, okay, I don't want to assume.
Yeah.
There's no assuming post August 17th. We're going to sit here and make sure that we are compliant and we are in line with the way that we should be doing things. And no better person than to sit down and ask for an hour one-on-one to just kind of review with your broker. So
yeah, I mean, I think I've talked to our broker in the past 60 days more than I've ever
100%.
talked to a broker in my life.
Yes, 100%. I mean, and I think it's good. We're with a company right now that has an amazing person that is committed to making sure that this is just dissected very well and clearly. They're clear, transparent training for us, and I think that having someone willing to do that is key. I mean, honestly, it's really helping us elevate to the next level. I'm super excited. Honestly, I feel like a lot of this stuff, yes, it sucks that we're going to have to be figuring out if and how and what sellers are going to do as buyers agents. And I think it does stink that we're going to be answering so many more questions on the seller side for those buyers agents that we're trying to get to sell the house. But I honestly feel like anytime there's been a challenge, and those agents that have been in the business for years on end, days, minutes, know that rising to the challenge, that's what we do. And I don't think that there's any harm in us leveling up. I think that it's due time for that to happen. And I think that this could be a huge opportunity for you guys to pivot your business and really, head for the hills.
Yeah.
I really think that this is a good thing, and stay focused on that. Regardless if you think that or not, turn your mindset around that this is a good thing and you're leveling up and you're really going to take this and fly in your business.
All right, guys. Well, we appreciate you for listening. Give us a 5-star review, and we will see you next time on